Today, I get to welcome one of the most special, amazing women in the world, if I do say so myself. And I might be slightly biased, but welcome my daughter, or BBG, or Cocoa Puffs, or just Coco, or Court, or anything. Just beautiful young woman, Courtney Dowling. And also very proud to say a psychotherapist now helping people on their own journeys of mental wellness. And I'm just honored to have you here and so proud of who you are.
Yay! I'm so excited, Ma, and this is
Yay.
going to be really fun, and I'm excited to have conversations
So we're just going to pretend like we're sitting on the couch or rambling over the phone like we do often. And
every day.
every day, we talk every day, and that could be a quick just check in, or it could feel like it's a quick check in and it's an hour.
We do also live 2 hours apart, so that's a good connection time that we can have together, I think,
Yeah.
over the phone.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I know Gerard's always like, "You talk to her every day?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
So
No, it's, I know that it fills my soul and
me
I
too.
yeah, fills your soul too, so we have so many things we could share. We've done this a couple of times in the past, and people keep saying, "When are you and Coco gonna do another podcast?" So, we're back, and, we actually have been exploring where we go with this, and I think today, I wanna open with when I was pregnant with Courtney. Probably was one of the what I would look back at of sort of dark nights of the soul moments in my life, where I was so excited for this little being inside of me, and yet I was so scared because I didn't have a great relationship with my own mom, and I wasn't really sure if I was gonna be good at this thing called motherhood. And my life wasn't exactly where I hoped it would be, wanted it to be. And yet, as you grew inside of me, and just like a little aside, I really hated being pregnant. So it was, and I hated being pregnant because I did not ever feel well.
You were very sick
I
when
was
you were pregnant.
super sick with you, and I think it was such a interesting analogy of everything going on within me. I think it was more about who I was becoming to prepare for you coming. And then, so I felt this heaviness, this darkness, this confusion. And yet, the moment you were born was this massive light that I also could never put words to, and there you were, and it was just like a knowing that I'd never experienced, and immediately knew that you were going to help me uncover me.
That's so beautiful.
And that's what started to happen. It was every time I looked in your eyes, which are huge and always glistening and always laughing and always smiling, was like it just kept cracking me open, cracking me open, cracking me open until I came to this place of being able to start to understand my own power and start to understand like a beautiful mother-daughter relationship. And so, I'm opening with that because we're now 28 years later,
Oh my goodness.
which we're not allowed to say anything that starts with a 3.
Yes, we can be
I
28, but just not 30.
and in those 28 years, we both had incredible journeys of hard times, amazing moments, beautiful memories together. And you have helped me strive to want to continue to become the best version of myself. Every day I wake up, you and Joshy, obviously, and now Corson in our lives as my bonus son. But being a mom inside of me stirred something I had not felt before.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you for the gift.
Well, I mean, I feel the exact same having you as a mom. You teach me something new every single day, and you are just my biggest support, and you are my best friend. So I just, it's so unbelievable having a relationship with your mom that you don't it's rare, I would say. I would say it's extremely rare. And even just like with my friends and people that I know, people that I meet in life, I think it's just so rare what we have. And every day I'm so grateful and so thankful for it. I don't want to tear up. I said I wasn't going to tear up today. Not sighing. Um, yeah, you've just taught me so many valuable lessons, and you teach me a lesson every single day. I swear I have something to come to you with every day. And I leave that phone call every single time just thinking, oh my gosh, I can do this.
And here's the really cool thing though that I think is important is it's the same for me. And so it's not just there's no, I'm the mom, I've got the answers. There's this beautiful dynamic of I'm constantly asking you questions about your field of psychotherapy and how do I look at things through the lens of psychology and how can I support the people I work with through that lens. So it's this constant back and forth, and actually reminds me of something I think is so important for leaders in today's world is our youth have some incredible lessons to teach us like never before.
They do.
It's this, and I said to you, I'm surprised how many people in their 30s, young women, come to me and say, "Tell me more. I want to know more about what you're doing, what you're experiencing, what you've been through." Whereas people my age were just kinda learning. I mean, I'm a little bit further ahead on the journey because of some things we've experienced in our life of a family falling apart and, creating a blended family and some of those things that we've been through, I think catapulted, and some health issues I had catapulted me to say, something massive has to change." And so, I'm just a little further ahead on that journey. And I've always been very open with my family and children of what we're experiencing and how we navigate it together. So there's always been openness and vulnerability. But why, what is this young people having this desire to want to do more of the inner work, know more about the inner work when people in our 50s are just figuring it out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it is, I mean, it has a lot to do with the ambitious, awakened, and aligned. But I think that, as time goes on, and I don't know if social media had an impact on this, but, there was a huge stigma for mental health for a long period of time. Even if we date it from like day one, when they used to drill holes in people's heads because they were depressed, and just how horrible it was for people that were mentally ill. And even just like a little bit of anxiety and depression, people felt like they couldn't talk about that with anybody. And I think as time goes on, like I said, I'm not sure if social media helped with that, with just, more people talking openly about it online and people seeing that and saying, oh, someone else struggles like I struggle. And I think that is involved with physical health issues too, because mental aspects have a huge impact on physical aspects too. And we know now a lot about the nervous system and how our brain is very involved and our body is very involved. And so I think that just learning more about that and seeing, I guess, that your generation and seeing how many struggles that you guys had with that. And I think that might have something to do with it, and seeing our parents, seeing, our parents' friends, and just, I guess, that generation, and just wanting to be different, having a drive to be different and speak openly and not being burnt out at work. And, because, I mean, we definitely saw that in our parents.
I was just going to say, so when you said wanting to be different, the stigma around mental health, I fully understand that. And again, beautiful work that you do to support young children, especially in that world. What's that lens for you? What is the lens of you specifically of what you saw us going through that you want to break that cycle?
I think that I I mean, I definitely saw you work extremely hard. And I saw you high up at Rogers, and, you worked very hard to also come home to us at night, but you were also working until like 2 in the morning. And then you would get up at 5 and go to the office. I saw that, and then I saw you transition from that into starting your own business, which was incredibly hard work. And just watching you do that, and I don't it never came across that you were burnt out, but I'm sure you were.
Mm,
And, like, I think that it was this, I don't know if you would call it a facade, but just what people were saying of you have to work hard, you have to go into the office, you have to see the whites of people's eyes, and you have to see them at 8 in the morning, and they can't leave until 11 p.m. And I think that was very present when I was younger and you were
mhm,
sort of in that Rogers field moving into your transitioning into your own business. And so I think that just watching that probably creates some sort of a thing inside of you that says, your mom is working extremely hard. And I saw Gerard work extremely hard too, my stepdad. And I mean, I think that this is just across the board with my friends my age as well. Our parents worked extremely hard, and it was sort of like the grind. You got to get into the office, work hard all day, work on weekends. And so I think that it's just seeing that and wanting different,
mm,
and maybe just understanding more about what that can actually do to your body and what that can actually do to your mind. And,
mhm,
people started to have conversations of, okay, well, maybe we'll do half days on Fridays, or, like go into the office 3 days a week and not seven, whatever that looks like.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, it was, and I'm curious about this because even early that there was, I would always follow the intuitive nudges.
mhm.
And there was a time in my career early when I first had young children where I had that guilt of, if I was at the office, I felt guilty I wasn't with you, and if I was with you, I felt guilty I wasn't doing enough from a work perspective, and I don't know what it was. I cannot remember the moment in time, but there was like a lightning struck moment where I said, "No more. I will be present where I am fully, wholly. I will show up at the best version of myself, whichever environment I'm in. And then when I'm in the other environment, I will do the same."
Mhm.
And so, very foreign for my time at the level I was at. I left the office every day at 4 o'clock to be home for dinner. Yes, I left early, but I was home for dinner every night. I made dinner every night when I got home.
The mom superpowers.
And, and then was with you until you would go to bed. And yes, then I would go back downstairs, which I'm not sure you knew at the time. Maybe you did. But definitely later in life, you would have come to see that and that wasn't healthy because what I was giving up was sleep, which we're going to talk about in a minute because Courtney gave me a sleep challenge recently. And so it was the sleep piece that I would give up,
Mhm.
and no
You have to understand
question
that.
right, and no question then that would have had long-term impact if then we look to autoimmune and we look to those things. When we're not taking care of ourselves, that's where an autoimmune comes from,
Yeah.
and I'm healing my autoimmune. I mean, I'm on a journey that thing will be gone because as we create it, we can also shift it.
But I think that's exactly what young people want to hear
Right.
from your generation. I think they want to hear those stories
Mm,
to heal themselves
mhm.
early on.
Well, start now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you don't have to have any of those experiences.
Well, I think I also I mean, I've experienced burnout severely, I would say. And it was during the time where I was taking my master's full time online and I was teaching full time. And, it was just a crazy time, and I could see the changes in my body and in my mind, and being in that, you don't necessarily recognize it very well, but once you're out of it, you see that, wow, my body and my mind were going through so much, and that is how these things progress. Like, even you can get diabetes from stress alone, which is unbelievable. Like, all of these issues are being caused by stress.
Mhm.
And just even like losing your hair or these other issues that come with severe stress. It's it's good to recognize that, I think, as a young person. And also, I think we see this stuff online too. So we want to learn more and we want to be healthy. I think especially after COVID, there's been a huge surge in health.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking you got to experience sort of that period of time where the wellness industry was coming to life, which was as we were raising you and as we were becoming curious, you were at still such an impactful age to be able to see that.
Yeah.
And yet I'm thinking, "Oh, we never talked stress. We never talked how you do like, how are you doing in our home?" And I listen, I had great parents. It's not because I didn't we just that those weren't the conversations that parents had with any of their children
Yeah.
at that time. And to be fair, also never had them for themselves. Were never nurtured in that way. Were never asked if they were okay. So, I want to caveat when I say I didn't have a great relationship with my mom, her mom died at 7. Who helped and supported her? I can tell you sitting here right now today, nobody. She had nobody to walk that journey with that could help her understand when she felt sad, hurt, lonely. It was a time when, dads were out working and didn't check in on their kids. So she kind of got shoved from neighbor to neighbor to neighbor. And so she was an unhealed woman trying to raise children. And so, that there is no judgment on that. I can still say we didn't have a great relationship and without judgment of she's still sitting with lots of wounds that she hasn't had the opportunity to step into some of these things that we have been able to see and understand now.
Yeah. And I think now, I mean, I work with parents and I work with primarily kids and youth, but I'm seeing now that a lot of parents want to take the feelings away from their child, which is very understandable. As a mom, I'm sure it's very
Hard to watch you hurt.
it's hard to watch your kids hurt, of
Mhm.
course, like that's horrible. Um but just allowing your kids and giving them the language and giving them the tools to work through it and to allow them to understand what they're going through instead of taking that from
And
them.
feel their feelings. Yes, yeah. Isn't that twofold though? So that's first of all allowing them to experience that so that they can teach their nervous system and they can have a relationship with their bodies the way they need to.
Yeah.
And also it's I understand if I take that away from you, that's about me too. That I need that sense of, oh, I only feel whole and like I am needed if I can take that away from you. And it definitely, as a mom, has been one of my hardest journeys is to let you guys sit in your pain, sit with your challenges, be here to love and support you, not try to take it away.
Well, I mean, I can't even imagine how hard that is. I'm not a mom, but I could, even when you're sad, I want to take it from you. So, yes, it goes both ways. Then, even like it's anyone that you love, you don't want them to be sad.
Mhm. We were talking about, though, like, I think here's an amplification of this that is so important for I think everything that we talk about is about evolving into the best version of yourself so that you can be the best leader, the best mom, the best spouse, the best whatever role you play in your life. It doesn't matter what role that is. It's all about you becoming the version of you that is true, authentic, real, and in allowance of working with your body first. Like it's all that. So but I think about this leadership lesson in I shared with you recently, I was standing in line at Winners, and this mom behind me was so upset. I could feel her vibration of how upset she was. And she was sharing with her friend that she was so frustrated with her daughter away at university because she was having a $12 breakfast every day at Starbucks. And wow, wasn't that nice for her because she wasn't having a $12 Starbucks. And then I'm in my mind, I'm thinking this is so funny. I can, picture having this conversation. And then she says to her friend, and then she calls me and tells me I have to reload the card because it's empty. And this is to me the epitome of almost where we're at And we have to become more conscious of, like, just listen to that story. You're filling the card for your daughter to have the $12 breakfast. You're upset with her. Imagine the relational challenges that are happening. Imagine the judgment that's happening. Imagine the complete out of alignment for everyone involved in that story and no accountability. No accountability. And so you've had so many stories with me about this is what you're working with what with young children is parents not willing to apply accountability.
Yes.
How mad were you at me in those moments?
Oh my gosh. So mad.
Okay, wait, tell this story about running home 1 minute late.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, okay. Let's give a little backstory.
Okay.
So we have a blended family,
Mm.
and we blended our families probably when I was about 9 or 10.
You were 9, yeah.
9. And we moved as well.
Mm.
As we blended the families, we also moved cities. So we moved from small town to a large city. And I would say it was probably like 3 years in to us living there. So we had blended our families by that point.
Yeah, because you were old
I
enough
think
to
I was in
be
grade 8.
go hang out with your friends
Yeah.
down because you were out, till 10 at night with your girlfriends up the road.
Yes. And
Probably barefoot.
probably always barefoot, always barefoot.
Just like mama.
I miss those times though, being barefoot and not having a care in the world.
Mm.
So I was out with my friends, and my mom and my stepdad had a very strict curfew. So,
Love that word, strict.
just strict curfew. I don't even know what time it was, maybe 7 o'clock or something. And if I was not exactly on curfew, I was grounded. And I think I had a situation before where I was maybe 5 minutes late and I was grounded. So I knew that there was like this shit was real, you know? And I think I was probably 2 kilometers away, let's say at the park. I think it was about 2 kilometers away. And, checking the time, you're a teenager, you're like having fun with your friends, you're not really checking the time.
I'm a good runner.
And yeah, I was a very fast runner at the time. And I look at my watch and I think I had like 10 minutes left. So I say to my friends, I have to get home. I sprint. Like this was probably the fastest I've ever run in my life. I sprinted home.
Olympic speed.
Yeah, and I was 1 minute late and I was grounded.
Yeah. It's interesting because at the time, blending the families and Gerard and I definitely will do some work on blended family stuff in the future.
I think you should.
And the greatest leadership lessons come from being a parent. There is no question. And especially going through the blending of a family and all the different dynamics. And, particularly unique for both families were so different
Yeah.
because there was sort of a fracture on our side and on their side there was complete openness to other situations. So Gerard felt this deep sense of res- needing to teach the children responsibility and especially felt this deep sense of he needs to step in and support my littles because they didn't have that from another source. And well, they did. Like, my father was such an incredible like father figure to you guys. But that was what he felt.
Yeah.
And I felt love and support was the most important. So, we came at these things from such different places at first, which was part of the dance we had to learn and then make sure that we looked like a united front, which I don't think we always did at first. I think we do now because, we've navigated so many of those things too.
Mhm.
But I think at the time, I actually wouldn't have grounded you for the 1 minute.
I know.
And so I think we had to really work through some of those things of what was reasonable and fair too.
But also, saying no to your kids is not fun.
Right.
It
It was not fun.
It is awful.
Mhm.
Like, you don't wanna say no to your kid, and you don't wanna disappoint them, you want them to have fun, you want them to have a good life, but it is the biggest reward you can ever give them.
It's the biggest opportunity we can give you as children, we can give our employees, we can give
Mhm.
everyone in our life, because when we try to take it away from you, we're robbing you of the opportunity to stand in your power. And I'm also robbing myself of the opportunity to stand in my power because I'm trying to take pain away from you to make myself feel better if we really dig deep,
Yeah.
to make myself feel better, right? When really the best thing I can do for you is let us both sit in what's uncomfortable for a little bit. And we've had to really do that dance. And it's made us both strong, beautiful, incredible women.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I still remember the times because you didn't say no often.
Well, you
I
didn't. I will say, though, you also didn't put me in a position to have to say no often. Like, let's be fair with that, right? Like, people talk to me about their journeys with their children. We didn't have that.
Right.
We had a really beautiful back and forth, loving, nurturing, challenging at times, but you were an easy child to raise,
Mm,
as was Josh,
mm,
as was Corson mostly, right? Like we didn't have, and we do have another daughter who there has been some challenges, right? So um I think every situation's unique. So I just want to say I didn't have to say no often
well,
because of who you were.
yeah. I just remember the times that you did.
Oh,
And they're terrible. And
yeah.
but they actually, looking back on them now, and when your kids are 28 years old, they might have the same realization, but looking back on those times is when you do learn the most
Mm,
about yourself, about life, about what's right and wrong.
mhm,
If you don't say no to your kids, they don't know what's right or wrong.
mhm. That's fair. And learn to stand and make your own choices,
Mhm.
like as much as it's interesting when we said at the beginning we talk to each other every day. I also want to say Courtney has lived in 4 different countries in her life.
Mhm.
And those were also really interesting, super proud, challenging moments. Having you, how old were you when you moved to go to Disney University and work for Mickey?
Yeah, I lived in
You were 17?
I
No,
no, no, no.
no, no,
I was
19.
19 when I moved to Florida for 6 months.
Yeah, so that was the first move, and then came back for a little bit, and then moved to Ireland to finish her degree,
Yeah.
and then to the west of
Yeah.
Canada
For
to
summer.
a summer, and then decided to take your teaching degree overseas, so you were in Wales, and got called back because of COVID, lived with us again for a couple of years after being this world explorer,
Mhm.
and so, we have this beautiful relationship. And also one of the greatest gifts my mom gave me, I remember, was a poem when I was young. And it's if you love someone, you have to let them go
Mhm.
to form their own wings.
That's so true.
And that has sat with me from the moment you were born. Is like my role, especially as a hawk inspired,
Yeah.
is to, the people around me, to give them their wings, to help you grow your wings, and they're beautiful.
Talk about hard, though,
Mhm.
allowing your daughter to move
Mhm.
that much.
Especially when every first few weeks was a crying phone call every day.
Yes. And that's okay, the thing about me is I will have an awful time for the first month of anything that I start. I will have a terrible time. I remember us even talking about this when I was younger, and you would send me off to camp in summer, and I would end up having the summer of my life, but that first 2 weeks
Mhm.
was terrible. I
Mhm.
thought the world was
Oh
ending.
my gosh, the first time I dropped you off at Forest Cliff Camp, I have never seen you cry like
Oh, I remember that because I remember when you picked me up,
and you were
I
just the
was
life of the party.
yeah.
Everyone knew Coco. She had all the besties in the world.
Yeah.
Best week of her life. And sure enough, I mean, that was such a great lesson because that whole week at home, I was in turmoil about, I wonder if she is okay. I wonder if she's had a good time because it was the first one. And after that, it was like, okay. Even playing, you played at a very high level. You're I would say you're a high performance athlete. So high level ringette, high level basketball, always in competition, and even then, we came to know you had to have your big meltdown,
Always.
and it was almost a release, and now we can look back and say, "That was you training your nervous system, like, just, like, shake it out, let it out,
Yeah.
scream, cry," and then you were superstar.
Absolutely. I think now in my life, I am trying to be better at understanding the cues before that big breakdown happens because
Mhm.
that still does happen. But I think I'm better at understanding the cues for the lead up of that big
Mm.
breakdown so that I don't end up getting there.
You support yourself properly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the small little breakdowns
Mhm.
instead of one big one.
I love that. Okay, one of the most beautiful experiences, which was the hardest experience. I think this is a theme. The hardest moments in, I think, any relationship slash partnership are the ones that push you to your growth edges the most. This, I think, is why we were so destined to be mother daughter, because I can say this, you push me to my growth edges and always have. And I can't remember how old you were, but we were having a conversation, and I have had a lifelong interesting relationship with weight, and because of that and many other things, past version of Lori had a very hard time receiving a compliment, always in judgment about my body, and really struggled with confidence from that perspective. And I think my family experienced quite an oxymoron because I'm very confident when it comes to sort of the business part of things and how I get to present in that way. And yet over on this other side where so many, let's just call them demons, because that's
Mhm.
kind of what they felt like.
You have a very confident mind. With your mind and your brain, you're very confident.
Except that's the mind fuckery, right? Is
Is
leading
that
with the brain.
yeah.
Because then I didn't have a relationship with my body. And so, of what I've come to know definitely in the last few years is get out of my brain into my body and lead with that. And so I have to love this vessel that I've been given. And for whatever reason, we're on a journey together. And it really doesn't matter when I look in the mirror as long as I have healthy habits to support it, love it, be with it. And, you said something interesting before we started the podcast that you feel like I'm I think you said confident. I would say just aligned would be my word. I feel very aligned and want to share that journey. So we're having a conversation and you're having your own body image moment and you're struggling with some confidence, and that phase of life with girls is we got to figure out how that can shift for the future, but that's a whole other podcast.
This is in high school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remember looking at you and saying, "Courtney, you're so beautiful. You light up a room. You have like we continue to show you and share with you and
Mhm.
allow you to see everything that you are gifted with." And I can't remember exactly, but you said something to the effect of, "But mom, you've always said that and I've watched you." And you can't receive a compliment, and you say bad things to your body all the time, and you're always frustrated with your weight. And
Yeah.
so it's, not so much about what you say to me as but what I watch you. And everything changed for me in that moment. Another moment of push to the growth edge. I got to figure this out. And not from the perspective of losing weight, from the perspective of loving myself where I am, no matter what that is.
Mhm. Yeah, that was I mean, we've had many moments. Well, I've had many moments, but I think that the confidence piece is such an important conversation, especially for young women and I mean, and any woman out there, really. Um, and just it is interesting because I do remember just you and I mean, primarily you, I would say, would always tell me how beautiful I am. And I appreciated that so much. And through your words, I did understand. However, I did, and like we said before, kids learn through action. So watching you and knowing that you were insecure about certain things about yourself, I don't necessarily think it was conscious for me to actively think like, no, I hate myself. I hate my body.
No, I don't
Like
think
these
so.
things. But it was also through my actions. And then I started picking apart my body and, you look in the mirror and you pick every certain thing apart. And you were so confused because you were like, well, we tell you you're beautiful, you're gorgeous. Like lots of people tell you that. And do you need more from us? But it wasn't that. I don't think it was through action. And also, of course, as
You
a
age
teen
into
struggles. But yeah, that was a really important turning point, I think, for you especially.
because I wanted you to watch me do it different. I knew that that was my opportunity, and through that, also other people in my work and in everything else that I do, I can't be authentic in what I'm sharing if I'm not truly loving me. Like, we can only provide love to the world to the extent that we truly love ourselves. And so that's been a beautiful journey, kind of ignited by that very moment. And that whole receiver, like, you've got to learn to receive, and you tell me that all the time.
Yes.
And I think that, let's do a whole podcast on receiving,
Yeah.
because
We do need to.
that's a separate one. But I wanna share, recently you took some new training, or new certification in sleep, so CBT for sleep,
CBT
cognitive behavioral therapy. Go ahead.
for insomnia.
Insomnia.
So not just sleep, but insomnia.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, tell us a little bit more about why this is so important.
Well, I think that a lot of people struggle with sleep for one. I think that with not to talk about social media again, but I think with the rise in social media, the rise in screen time, especially even in work, we all use our screens to work. We potentially are looking at our screens for 10 hours a day. So that has a huge impact on our sleep. So I've been seeing that a lot of people are struggling with sleep, and especially in the work that I do, I'm seeing this theme that people are struggling. And so I thought to take this CBT for insomnia, and I love CBT. It's one of my favorite modalities to use with clients. So I just thought that it would be a great opportunity for me to learn more about sleep. I actually don't struggle with
Oh,
sleep.
no, she does not struggle with sleeps.
I know that my mom's
We could put a train through the room, and she is not waking up.
yes.
Yeah.
Interesting because you also said that you were an okay sleeper until you had me.
Yes. Yeah, we don't wanna apply our stories to the people that we love. However, I did sleep very well until Courtney was born,
Yeah.
and to no fault of her own, she had, massive ear infection challenges, and so I would have to hold her ear so that she could sleep until she was about 4 years old, when they finally took out her tonsils, and, I mean, you've hardly really even been sick since then. And, it's shocking to me thinking how you were still such a light when you must have been in so much pain. But then from that point on, you have been a rock of a sleeper, and I have never done my own work to get back to a place where I sleep well. And so she called me with a challenge.
Yes, I called her with a challenge. I just want to preface this with that. I mean, I said it before, but I really wanted to help people with sleep because it seems like a huge theme. So this is why I took this course, but now I can help my mom too.
I can be the first guinea pig.
Yeah. So really, when I called her, I just said some of the things that I had learned in this training. And one of the things that I learned is night owls versus early birds. And
There should be night hawks.
okay, we can change this to night night hawks. So night hawks. So my mom, I would say, is a night hawk.
I am.
And my stepdad is an extreme early bird.
Mhm.
He wakes up at 4:30 in the morning every single day. And I would say that's a pretty extreme early bird.
Mhm.
Typical early birds is 6 a.m. He's 4:30. So really, what it was just very interesting to learn about, our body clock and
Mhm.
what we should be doing. A lot of people are trying to work against their body clock.
Mhm.
For example, you.
Yes.
My mom would go to bed at what, 8, 9 p.m.?
Yeah, so I started years ago, aligning with Gerard's because of a few things. It just fit better.
Mhm.
Nothing he's ever asked. I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
He has always been, you do you, that makes
Mhm.
you feel the best you need to feel. And he would have the same conversation with me that Courtney did. We need to get your sleep sorted. But it just was easier to go to bed when he was going to bed and get up when he was getting up, and then my driver side of me really liked getting all the routines done in the morning. Yeah. And so I had competing priorities. I had his love language, which is touch, which everyone knows I've talked about. He likes his head rubbed a little bit and then he falls asleep in 2 seconds. And so that's his love language. And when his love language is fed, then so mine gets fed too, because that's what we know to happen with the love languages. Mine's quality time, and then the other side of the competing priority was I love making sure the workout's done and, the meditation, and so there was this beautiful time in the morning to be able to do all that. Except except
Except,
what?
well, my mom would go to bed at 9 p.m. and not fall asleep until 2 a.m.
Mhm.
And then she's getting up in actually her deepest sleep
Yeah,
at about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, 4:20.
4:20. My goodness.
I know.
So, really what I learned in this training is that you want to train your body that bed is a time for sleep.
Mm,
So, lots of people toss and turn, lots of people overthink. That's just what the brain does. I don't know. I heard something that it's about your horizontal, so the blood rushes to your brain.
mm.
That has something to do with it. I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm not a scientist. But um, but yeah, so really when you're in bed, you want your body to feel like this is the place for sleep. This is where I sleep. And, you know, whatever else is involved in that. One other thing, but just sleep and that one other thing. Um so really if you're lying there overthinking, what I learned in this training is that you should actually get out of bed and do something, whatever you want to do, not hard work, not go to your laptop and work. Get up and do what you were doing before you went to bed.
Mm.
So, and the other thing is sleepiness. That's what they called it in the training. So when your head's nodding, when you are literally falling asleep, that is when you need to be in bed. So get up out of bed if you're overthinking. Go do what you were doing before you were going to bed. Wait until that sleepiness comes. Go back into bed.
Love that.
So, and really just understanding, are you an early bird? Are you a night owl? And also women's hormones are involved in this too, like we go through a lot of different things throughout the 28-day cycle.
Mhm.
So, understanding your body first, are you a night owl? Are you an early bird? And really just basing your sleep schedule off of that. There's a lot more involved.
Well, we should do a beautiful podcast on that too, which is the rhythms of everything. So the rhythms of your cycle, the rhythms of the moon, and the rhythms of light dark, and the rhythms of our own bodies of whether like when do we have the most energy throughout a day.
Mm,
So Courtney's challenge to me was, Mom, follow your rhythms.
mhm.
Please give me 2 weeks. And so just so you know, today is 2 weeks.
Oh my.
I have every single day gone to bed when I'm tired, woken up when I'm ready, gone to the gym after that. I still have done my own, I've gone on my own. Gerard has still gotten up at his crazy, ridiculous time. And so what's interesting is watching him as well. So now he spends the time at the gym to do the sauna and do all the other stuff he likes to do at the gym, whereas I'm like a get in, get out. My workouts were like 60% because I had no energy. And this is something I haven't shared with you is in the morning I would take this. It's a really healthy drink from the perspective of it's got vitamins and minerals and all that and caffeine. So I'm off the drink.
Wow.
So I did it all. And so I'm noticing that my workouts are more effective. I don't think my body is completely adjusted to this yet,
Well,
and it'll take some time.
yeah.
I was not a overthinker in bed, so that wasn't the challenge. I just wasn't sleeping. And so
We're sleepy.
so I wasn't sleepy, so sometimes I might grab my phone and scroll mindlessly, which I do not like doing. And so it's been a beautiful experiment. I'm going to continue the experiment. And I so appreciate you for just leaning into your callings and also sharing where that can support the people you love.
Well,
Thank you.
I think we both do that with each other.
Hmm.
I think we do that every single day, and we should honestly just have Zoom calls every single day to talk to each other about certain things, but you teach me something new every single day, and you're literally the best mom in the entire world. I don't like that is just the most true term.
Thank you.
No one has a better mom than me.
You are so beautiful, and you are the best daughter a mom could ever be gifted. And our souls were meant to be together.
They were.
Yes. And what I love and why Courtney's here is to help us become more ambitious, awakened, and aligned.
A.
AA, I know, right?
Wait, no.
It's an extra A.
Okay. Triple A.
Triple A. Triple A like the steak.
Triple
You
A.
know, like the highest,
Juicy stuff.
the juicy stuff. So, what does this mean to you?
Ambitious, awakened, and aligned means that you are truly doing what your calling is in life. And if that's not your profession, find it outside of your profession. I recently wanted to start doing acting classes because I loved acting as a child.
Really should be in Hollywood. Good.
Yes. And so I think that ambitious, awakened, and aligned means you're doing what you love and you're bringing things that are outside of maybe your work life that bring you joy. I think it's the opposite of burnout. I think it's you're awake, you're alive, you're feeling good, you're feeling like your true self.
I love that. And I love you. Thank you so much, beautiful.
Yay,
Okay.
so fun.
We'll see Courtney again soon.